Good evening, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to another edition or episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder.
And of course, we are going to have another DB mukbang.
Yeah, it is interesting how if you order a pizza, it always seems to take just long enough to interrupt the start of the show.
Yeah, but well, no worries. We're prepared for it. Um, uh, First of all, if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. If you're new, what we usually do is we will start with our thing of the week, which is some form of media that we've been consuming. This week, of course, we got the same thing, and then we move on to box office talk, which is going to be substantial this week.
Yeah,
And
because
yeah,
well, I should say it's not substantial because of the money made. It's substantial because of the money not made.
yeah. And then we get on to our main topic of of the show. But before we get into all of that, just real quick, for those of you who probably don't know this already, but DB has a new book out.
Yes, or I should say it's coming out very soon. Now let me go ahead and get my screen showing.
All right.
So, this is one that I've had written for a bit, but just because of the intricacies of, uh, I should say, the intricacies of Amazon exclusivity, having it up on the free sites where I usually post my stuff to start with, and just wanting to keep a focus on writing rather than editing has been in the back pocket for a bit. But I'm happy to announce that Rose Cooper, Stranded, A Confessions of the Magpie Wizard story is finally available.
Yeah.
This is one that I came up with a concept for ages ago, which is basically Rose, who is a lot of people's favorite character in Magpie Wizard.
Mhm.
By the way, did you notice that the dedication?
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen the dedication.
Uh, anyhow, while he pulls that up, he already has his physical copy. Uh,
Yes, thank you.
but the basic concept is that in the aftermath of Book Four, Rose gets assigned to a special mission where, she's a weather wizard. She's always had trouble with control, but things have improved recently, so she thinks everything is going to be fine. She gets assigned to keep the rain off of a recovery vessel. That's all she has to do,
Yeah.
and things go awry. And so she's stranded on a remote island under the control of a primitivist cult.
Ooh.
Well, will she get out? Well, see, the thing is that we know that Soren, aka Malthus, the narrator of the main series, made it to the you know to his old age. We don't necessarily know who else made it,
Yeah.
but anyhow, that's the pitch there. Yeah, and of course, there's the knock at the door. So I'll be
All
back in
right.
just a moment.
All right. Yeah. So go and pick up your copy of that. Yes, I'm the biggest Rose Cooper fan. Um, for obvious reasons. If you've seen some of the art that DB has commissioned, and even some of the artwork I've commissioned of her. Um, but but yeah. So physical is available now. uh, Digital drops on Saturday,
Yep, the first.
the first. Yeah.
I'm weird like that because I like to have my books come out at the start of the month so it's easier to track.
Uh,
A lot of people tell me I'm silly for that, but
yeah.
I think that they're silly for that.
Yes. So yeah, but link is in the description. It's also in the chat. Go and pick up your copy today.
Oh, well, before I was interrupted, I forgot to say that on top of it having a different narrative than normal, I tried to design it to be so you could read it out of order. If you just thought this looked interesting, you could check it out.
Hmm.
It's up it's up to you because it is technically the fifth book of the series. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see how successful that was, but that was the intent.
Okay. All right. Very cool.
Speaking of intense box office performance,
Yes.
we have a mutual thing of the week this week.
Yes, it needs a Mario.
Yippity
Although he, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't really sound like that through most of the movie.
No, yeah, they explain it in the commercial. Yeah, they talk like that. And
Yes. So Daniel was nice enough to gift me a spare digital copy he got of this, and I said, it's time for another no hype review because it's months after anybody who was interested in seeing this already saw it.
yeah.
But we have some thoughts,
Yes.
and I think the first thought is this is probably my favorite Illumination movie I've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd go with that. Yeah.
This is not high praise because I have never seen an entire Minions movie all the way through. I always wander off if other people are watching it. The only
The Minions movies and the Despicable Me
oh,
movies have their
see,
charm.
right, like they're
Yeah.
just kind of goofy fun,
Yeah.
but it's basically like the equivalent of cinematic cotton candy, I guess, or
Yeah. That sounds about right.
like there's nothing substantial to it. You get some feels, you might get some laughs out of it, but it's not like anything that's like it isn't Pixar. It isn't even DreamWorks.
Yeah.
Like DreamWorks, like okay, so quick side tangent. I watched some of Boss Baby because it was other people were watching it when I was around,
Yeah.
and it actually had something to say about like demographic decline, which I thought was amusing because it was like it was about the people liking puppies more than babies or something like that. So it's like even a bad movie like that had some sort of point to it.
Yeah.
Where I feel like this, from what I've seen in Despicable Me, it's like family
Pretty much. Yeah.
just with fewer cars.
Yeah. And a morally conflicted villain.
Yes. Now, Super Mario Brothers clocks in at 90 minutes, and I remember multiple reviewers saying that they kind of wish it had been a little bit longer, and I have to kind of agree because
Mm.
there's like the ending felt like it was slightly rushed, like we needed one more scene.
Yeah.
By the way, we are since this thing has been not only out since April, it's been on digital since May. If you wanted to see it, you've already seen it. So
Yeah.
yeah, we are no holds bars for spoilers.
Yes. Yes.
So so this is kind of so, so the Mario Brothers movie is basically the plot you would expect just from if somebody said, "Hey, they're making a Super Mario Brothers movie." No, not like the John Leguizamo version. Uh, Mario and Luigi are plumbers in New York. They get pulled into a magical pipe that takes them to the Mushroom Kingdom. Luigi gets captured by Bowser because they get separated. Mario
Mhm.
asks Princess Peach and Toad for help. They go and to recruit the Donkey Kong army to help them out. Um, and in the end, they save the day from Bowser.
Yes. That's basically the plot. Yeah.
Now, there's a couple of twists and turns in there, but I would say that you know how when this movie came out, there were a lot of people dragging the critics for getting it wrong about this movie.
Yeah, I remember that.
Um, I gotta say that if I hadn't spent my childhood playing every Mario game that was available up until the GameCube came out because I never had a GameCube.
Mm.
And I was just confused.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea about anything Mario related. Like this movie would not hold up at all.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, because it's definitely for the Mario fans, the fans of Nintendo. And if you didn't, if you didn't play those games, or if you don't know anything about them, you're probably gonna be like, okay, all right, whatever.
I remember people making fun of Grace Randolph for being confused about the cat suit that Mario finds in the middle of his fight with Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and it's like, well, if I sure I know that there's a kitty suit because I've seen footage of people playing Super Mario 3D World. I think is where that came from.
okay.
But if I didn't, then I would just be like, oh, well, that's technically a very much a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Only technically made better by the fact that he ended up with a bad mushroom first when he was trying to get an item from the arena.
Yeah. He eats the blue mushroom, which made him tiny. But yeah. So of course, the other part of it too is with Bowser. Um, and of course, if you've seen and even if you haven't seen the movie, you've seen the trailer where, at least the first trailer, when he shows up at the kingdom with the penguins, and he steals the superstar.
Right, he should have threatened to throw one of their babies off the ledge.
Yeah.
Which, if you didn't get that, well, you're not the audience for this movie.
Yes. And of course, his Bowser's goal is to marry Peach.
Yes, like it always is.
Yes. And and what killed me was, of course, he had it's Jack Black voicing Bowser, so you have to have a scene with him singing.
I think I remember hearing somewhere that they got very deep into production before somebody said, "Wait, why isn't Jack Black doing a song for this movie?"
Yeah.
Fun fact: so my sister is a music teacher,
Hmm.
and somebody requested, "Oh, can we do Jack Black as our composer of the month when this movie came out?" She was like, "No, not even sorta." And I was like, "Oh, come on! You could do like a Kids Bop style. You don't always have to love her hard. In fact, sometimes it's not right." That'll make it better, right?
Yeah. Uh,
But now, as far as the actual performances go, Jack Black is very good, and
mhm.
I feel like they do a good job of not making. It's like this. It's a fine line in a kids movie like this because this is
Yeah.
really a kids movie.
Hmm.
Tenacious Kids with a Z. Hey, Chengus.
Yeah, Genghis.
But the thing with it's like a fine line you have to write because Bowser has to be scary,
Hmm.
but he also can't be too scary for the little ones.
Yeah. Yeah, the couple of scenes in there where he's like singing, and then he's doing like the practice proposal with his little wizard guy. I can't remember what his name was.
Look, no, it's not Lakitu. He's the guy who floats on the cloud. I forget the wizard's name. We'll just call him
Yeah,
the wizard.
the wizard. Yeah, and it sort of reminded me of reminded me of Spaceballs, with Dark Helmet's playing with his action figures.
Didn't I tell you to knock?
No, sir, I didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
Good. The other thing I would say is that now people were giving Chris Pratt crap about this in the months leading up to the movie.
Hmm.
I feel like they took out the worst part of it, which was him saying "Let's a go" before charging into battle with Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Like that, I was paying attention for that, and that was not there.
Hmm.
So that was good. Like by and large, he did a fine job in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. He's got a convincing Brooklyn accent. Um, although we talked about this a couple of days ago, but the the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, who's the voice of Luigi, he was a little annoying.
See, I didn't find myself being annoyed by him, but he's also perfect casting for like the post GameCube Luigi, where he's a coward and that's his main defining character trait.
Yeah, yeah,
And yet you get him to one game where a house of literal ghosts are trying to kill you, and people think you're a scaredy cat or something.
yeah. Which is, of course, which is referenced in the movie.
Right? He has a scene where he fights the skeleton Koopas,
Yeah,
and they work on the game logic. And I think that's a good transition to actually other voice actors. What's her name is Princess Peach is totally fine, and I
yeah,
only call her what's her name because I looked up her IMDb and did not recognize anything else she'd been in really, or hadn't seen it.
yeah. She was in. Yeah, she's been in. Anya Taylor Joy is her name.
That's it.
She Yeah, she's been in like. She was in Split and Glass. She was in. Most recently, she was in The Menu, which I still need to watch that movie.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I've heard of that at least.
yeah, and she was in New Mutants, which of course nobody saw New Mutants.
I feel like I need to at some point just because of morbid curiosity.
Yeah, yeah. Charlie Day. Charlie Day. Yeah, that was his name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was good. She was good as the 75% girl bossed Peach,
yeah,
which was a reasonable amount of girl bossness, though caused some. There was a little bit of wonkiness with it. That's kind of amusing, but we'll talk about it in a minute.
yeah. And then you had Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. He was okay.
Yeah, he was totally fine.
Yeah, and
Donkey Kong, I think you could have. Well, we'll get into that when we talk more about the problems with the story.
yeah, and then Keegan Michael Key was Toad. He's been in. He was he and oh god, what was his name? Jordan Peele. They had
Hmm.
that show on
Yeah,
Comedy
Key and
Central.
Peele.
Key and Peele. Yeah. How many?
There were actually zero weed jokes because Nintendo
Yeah.
was heavily involved with this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was produced by Shigeru Miyamoto. No.
Yep. And so, and those are the performances that really stood out. What was funny was the wizard was actually voiced by is it Kevin Michael Richardson, Keith Michael Richardson,
Kevin Michael Richardson. Yeah.
Kevin Michael, yeah, an actual voice actor by profession.
Yeah. A very prolific and legendary one. Yeah.
Yeah, which amused me.
Yeah.
The one I wanted to look up, but I couldn't identify what the character's name was on IMDb, was there's this one deep voiced Toad who, like, and Toad is in Mushroom Person, Toad is in a frog,
Yeah.
who sounded very serious the whole time, like, when he was on screen during some
Yeah.
exposition scenes.
Oh yeah.
I like, you're distinctive because you don't sound adorable.
Yes.
So that kind of covers the cast. As far as the story goes, so the plot is, Mario and Luigi are still living at home. They're trying to get their plumbing business off the ground.
hmm
They're failing. Uh,
Yeah. They do the ad where they're doing the fake Italian accents and
yep.
yeah.
Uh, they get sucked into the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario asks or gets help from Toad to find his way around. He meets Peach because Toad gets him snuck into the castle.
hmm
Peach is intrigued by meeting another human being because she had been raised by the Toads, which answers the question of why is she interested in the help of this nothing. Well, it's because the Toads are all too scaredy cats to help except for the main
Yeah.
Toad there,
Yeah.
and she's also just intrigued by meeting another human, so that checks out.
hmm
And you have a nice little training montage where he levels up a bit.
Yeah, and he eats the mushrooms and then goes through. Yeah, they goes through the obstacle course and everything. And of course they explain they kept the power up rules pretty much the same. Where
Right.
you,
You get a power mushroom, you get bigger.
yeah,
Get a fire
and if
mushroom, you can do spitty breath.
yeah, and if you get hit, you lose the power up.
Yep. And so their plan is they're going to go to the Kong Kingdom and recruit the King Kong army, or the King
Mm,
Kong, the Kong Kingdom army.
yeah,
But Mario has to defeat their greatest champion, Donkey Kong, played by Seth Rogen,
yeah,
and he does so. And so then you have the Mario Kart sequence where you supposedly have the mightiest army in the land of the Kong army, but they're defeated very easily
yeah.
as the Koopas just ambush them. And there was one thing in there that is just like perfectly emblem, like covers up why this isn't really a movie. Yeah, or I should say, this isn't cinema. It's like how Martin Scorsese got crap from everybody for saying that Marvel movies aren't real. They're they're
Amuse-
a amusement park
Amusement
ride,
parks. Yeah.
not a movie. Like, I don't think he's wrong in retrospect.
No, no, I don't think he was either.
Um, there's one bit where you have a Mad Max, like a Koopa in a Mad Max style car chasing Mario, and it looks like they've gotten away, and he just shouts "Blue Shell"
Oh
and
yeah.
hops into the air and flies and destroys the rainbow bridge that they're riding on.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like that was weird. Like, imagine you had never played a Mario game like a lot of critics hadn't. That
Yeah.
and they also hadn't established the rule that the blue shell can hit the person in the lead.
Right. And of course the blue shell was a rarity too in Mario Kart. Like you couldn't get one very often.
No. Fun thing I found out once as an experiment. I was
Mm,
playing the game and I got a blue shell and I got it to first place and just see what would happen. I fired it. It does in fact target you if you're in first place, even if you were the one who fired it.
I think I knew that. Yeah. So don't fire the blue shell if you're in first place.
Hmm. So Mario and Donkey Kong uh, get swallowed by a whale, and Princess Peach is captured, and she almost rescues herself, but doesn't.
Right.
But gets saved by Mario and Donkey Kong, and then they end up back, musically very much like the '90s Mario movie. They end up back in New York, and they Mario and Luigi team up to save the day. This is where I feel like there could have been some more time because you cut to Princess Peach, who's been established as a capable fighter, and
Mhm.
Donkey Kong are both trying to hold off Bowser, and she's just being like her arms are being held by a couple of Koopas as
Yeah.
uh, as Donkey Kong is getting the last of his stuffing beaten out of him by Bowser. Like, I think that's where you could have used a couple more minutes. Like, give them both some shine before you show off how cool Bowser is.
Yeah. And of course during that whole sequence that's when Mario has to find his courage and so he could fight he can defeat Bowser.
Right, and it more or less works, but that isn't what the movie is about.
Right.
What the movie is really is about is, ooh, I understand that reference. 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 So it's
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah, it was definitely a movie for the fans of Mario, and not necessarily a bad thing, but I mean, it seemed to work. I mean, the movie pulled in, over a
billion
billion
plus.
dollars. Yeah,
Yeah. And, well, that's just because uh, you can make a niche movie for a specific audience like this, but it helps when that specific niche is anybody who has bought a Nintendo console and has fond memories of playing it ever.
yeah,
Which lifetime sales, I think of the NES was like 50 million, and
yeah,
the Wii was 100 million, and you add them all up between the Nintendo handhelds and everything. Uh, you've got yeah, probably half a billion total consoles sold or close to it between all the different generations and everything.
Yeah.
So that's a sizable audience.
Yes.
So I don't regret watching it, but it's one of those things where I kind of had to go, maybe y'all were kind of too rough on Grace Randolph,
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. Oh, you got muted.
which I don't, uh, which I don't necessarily enjoy saying because I don't always agree with her takes, but I always try to be fair.
Yeah. 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 That's true. But I mean, this is I would say this is a fun fun romp. Um, and if you like Mario and you like animated adventure movies, I mean,
Yeah.
eh,
Yeah, the fact that it's 90 minutes long means that it's not a huge time sink.
right, yeah,
And if you're a shareholder of AMC, you probably are way happier with this movie
yes,
than the actual everything that's going on right now in the box office. Because
yeah,
boy, howdy,
oof,
I was not expecting uh, across Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse to come back into first place after a month in the theaters.
yeah, and nor was I expecting the Flash to drop down to 3.
Yeah, 72% drop. Those are Morbius numbers.
Yeah. Now, since you have seen the movie, is it better? Is it better than Morbius?
Absolutely 500% better than Morbius. It's got issues, but it actually feels like a movie that that wants to have something to say. Just that it was too many cooks in the kitchen, too many changes of direction.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, Chinggis' Spider Verse sweep is real. Yeah,
Yep. Now, as far as other things, Elemental had actually a very respectable hold week over week after its first weekend, only
yeah.
dropping 38%.
Though, granted, the first weekend wasn't very good. I mean, that was what 28, 29 million.
Yeah, let's find out. Actually, I think that'll be opening weekend was 29 million. So
Yeah,
it's got some legs. It's just that it tripped out of the starting gate.
yeah.
It's still a $200 million movie plus marketing. So absolutely no way this thing makes profit.
Oh no.
Um, the Flash is just unfortunately it's an unmitigated disaster. I only say
Yeah,
unfortunately because you know it's a send off for Michael Keaton's Batman. So you'd hope that that would. I think we talked about this last week. How the Flash is, in my opinion, the epitome of DC's fanboy capture,
yeah.
where you have scenes like the Spider with Nicolas Cage Superman that are so inside baseball that I think I had to explain it to my dad what that was about.
Yeah,
And he watches all these DC movies and TV shows.
yeah.
If you wonder who was watching Titans, he was watching Titans, and he was sad that they're canceling it.
Oh wow.
So so there you go.
Yeah.
Um, the other big movie that came out this weekend, or the actually say the big movie that came out last weekend was No Hard Feelings,
Mhm.
which somebody put it that the business model for this movie is that there is an 8-second scene where Jennifer Lawrence is in the buff full frontal.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, we know that there was the incident they called many years back where people's iClouds accounts were hacked called the fappening,
Yeah.
and she was caught up in that. So I guess she finally hit the point in her career where she said, "Okay, time to cash that trump card."
Yeah.
So it's going to, even if the movie wasn't good, it would sell some copies just for that.
Yeah.
Now, reportedly, I've been hearing good things about it.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of reviews said it's it's a hard R raunchy comedy, but it actually does have some um, like sentimentality to it, especially in the third act.
which is good because
Yeah,
you don't want a totally nihilistic experience.
yeah,
And where this movie's advantage is that it only cost 45 million to make. And since Sony has their deal where their movies either go to um, anything they make ends up going to Amazon or to Netflix, they're going to make their money back on this one handily, even if it doesn't technically in the theater.
yeah,
You sell some streaming rights, you sell some Blu-rays and digital copies, you come out with a unrated cut 6 months later or at the time of home video release,
yeah,
or maybe you get 12 seconds of Jennifer Lawrence,
yeah.
and you're good.
Yes.
And then as far as the rest of the top, it's no actually no. There is one new entrant who is doing well for itself by the standards you'd expect it to.
Mm.
It's the indie movie Asteroid City.
Yes, Wes Anderson's new movie with a star-studded cast.
Yeah, which you wonder how much that impacted the actual budget on it because there isn't a posted one.
Oh, I'm sure.
No,
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, you've got like Tom Hanks, you got like Scarlett Johansson, and
right? You wonder like you know that Tom Hanks isn't getting like $20 million to appear in this movie.
no, no,
Absolutely not. And Wes Anderson movie, I could totally see it being a situation where they just go, "Oh, Wes Anderson wants me? Sure, I'm in."
yeah, that's Bill Murray pretty much 100%, almost 100% of the time.
Yep. Oh, it's Wes. Yeah, I'll actually answer the phone for you.
Yeah,
I've heard that he's very cantankerous, and any attempt to contact him still has to go through his answer machine, and your
yeah,
odds
yeah,
of hearing back from him are very minimal.
yeah. I remember the story about with Ghostbusters. They weren't even sure he was going to show up or not.
Now, as far as other movies that have come out recently, it's kind of dismal. Like not
Yeah,
dismal in terms of quality because I've only seen The Flash and Mario Brothers as far as things in the top 15.
yeah,
But Fast X fell off the map. It is number 12 last weekend when Mario Brothers, which as we mentioned has been available digitally since May,
yeah,
was number 13. Now, this is kind of as people were predicting doing a much more robust business in the international market.
yeah.
It's just, is it justifying a $340 million budget?
I don't think so.
Yes, it's harder to justify.
Yeah,
The thing I've heard is that because streaming is more dispersed, since it has a more international audience, they can actually sell the rights to a multitude of regional streaming services. So that might actually help
yeah,
them.
yeah,
Or you have countries where maybe I'm gonna pick on a country, maybe in Czech or no, that isn't actually a country anymore. Maybe in the Czech Republic, they don't quite have the highest of speed internet just yet, so people are still buying DVDs and Blu-rays.
yeah, mm,
So it's probably the one movie that still has a robust aftermarket. But yeah, things
yeah.
like The Little Mermaid. Oh, a Little Mermaid actually crossed a half
Cross.
billion. Good on it.
Yes, but I don't think it will ever. It's not gonna be
Two,
profitable though.
yeah, 250 million. Maybe if there was no such thing as advertising, and maybe if that entire gross was in the U.S., it would now be profitable. But
Yeah.
that just ain't happening.
No.
Other movies that have come out, The Blackening, that's a niche comedy release,
Yeah.
so it's not too shocking that it's hasn't crossed 15 million yet.
Yeah.
The Flash, though, I almost feel like The Flash they would have just Batgirl if they didn't have some sort of requirement to release it.
Yeah, or if they hadn't already spent the amount of money that they had already spent on it and doing all those reshoots, and it, you know, man,
Technically being ready to release for a long time.
yeah,
Boy, it's just I've this summer's box office is just miserable. It's kind of astounding.
yeah. Well, I think it's just you look at what's out, and it's just nobody. It's nothing looks that interesting. I mean, for me, and I'll speak for myself. Like, I mean, I'll probably watch Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse on streaming. Same with the Flash, and Transformers, but
Yeah,
and
Guardians 3 is on
Guardians.
my list.
Yeah, Guardians 3. Yeah,
Transformers, I might give it a watch just because it's more based on the Bumblebee thing. So I enjoyed
yeah,
Bumblebee.
yeah,
And I grew up on Beast Wars, so that's some nostalgia there.
yeah, yeah.
Now, if we take a look at the top 10 here, so what here is an original property? You've got Elemental, Bomb, No Hard Feelings, Modest Success,
Yeah.
Asteroid City. Actually, I don't know if it is good for a Wes Anderson movie. Let's find out.
Yes.
Actually, before we do that, Little Mermaid, Bombing, Guardians of the Galaxy, doing better than
Respectable. Yeah.
doing better than Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Blackening, probably heading for a loss, but it's also probably a cheap movie. So
Yeah.
Boogeyman, no information, no opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so we've got for franchise movies 1, 2,
Three,
3, 4,
four,
5. So half of it is franchise movies, and the whole point of franchise movies is they're supposed to be sure bets.
five.
That
Yeah.
that's that's why you spend the billions of dollars buying Fox or buying an ownership stake in Warner Brothers. Is they have this intellectual property that guarantees money when you come
Yeah.
out with something.
Yeah. It's supposed to make $1 billion, and then you can make your little your smaller mid budget movies, and you know
Dump them
ba-
straight on streaming. Though. That's a new
yeah.
that's a new wrinkle to this whole weird situation.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Or make your Oscar bait movies.
Right. You make your flashes so that you can afford to make your asteroid cities. So that reminds me,
Yes.
Wes Anderson. Let's compare this to the first wide weekend of his last major movie. You know, I've never seen a picture of Wes Anderson before. That on the one hand, that kind of looks like I would expect it to look. I was expecting hipster glasses.
Yeah.
Let's see here. He's an actor. Technical roles. All right. What was?
Okay, Grand Budapest Hotel was his last movie.
Okay. So how did that do its opening weekend?
Let's see.
Um, okay. This had a much fairly comparable if you compare its first actual weekend
Yeah.
because its first weekend where it got close to the number of theaters it was in as Asteroid City is in week 2 is like a month in, and it made like 8 million in 2014 dollars.
Yeah.
Which, although with ticket inflation, that's probably represents half as many tickets sold.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that they're rolling it out quickly instead of inching it along is a sign that the theater, either his brand is stronger and or the theaters are like, well, what else do we have to show?
Yeah. That's probably both. Both are true.
So, yeah, I, I kind of am. I don't know. I tend to think that it's more of a content problem than a format problem.
Mhm.
But I think that what the pandemic taught us is that if you break a habit it's hard to make people get back into it.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true, and of course, yeah, the grand experiment of releasing a movie on streaming on the same day that you release it in theaters didn't work for a lot of movies.
No, in fact, very few movies.
Yeah,
You think you had some success from DreamWorks with Trolls 2, but that might have just been because it was one of the only one. Like they stabbed AMC in the back and just went straight to digital on demand, and that was
yeah,
like a unique thing. And people were like, "Well, I got to do something to keep the kids quiet."
yeah. I mean, and you also had the Matrix
Oh, I keep
Resurrections.
I keep forgetting that they made a Matrix 4.
I'm trying to forget that they made a Matrix 4
Yeah,
or a Matrix 2 and 3.
for that matter, yeah.
Yeah,
But it's pathetic. Like this is peak box office season in theory,
yeah. I
and
mean, yeah,
not a single movie last weekend broke the $20 million mark.
yeah,
I've heard analysis that to get back to comparably bad summer, you have to go back to like 1994, where I think it was like Dick Tracy came out and underperformed, and you had Baby's Day Out, which I remember liking as a kid, but I was a dumb kid
yeah.
and I was easy.
Yeah, and of course you got the Fourth of July weekend this weekend, and
Right.
you got Indiana Jones, which is probably not going to save the box office.
No, I'm a big fan of your boy Zach. He's been predicting that it makes $1 billion as like a contrarian position.
Yeah,
Lucasfilm better hope he's right,
yeah,
because
because yeah,
he's kind of going off of what Kingdom of the Crystal Skull did, scaled up, and just and he's comparing it to Top Gun Maverick. I just don't know that that's going to be the case, just because
yeah,
you have things like them releasing it in Cannes to awful results. If that $60 to $70 million opening U.S. weekend holds true,
hmm,
that's a long road to $1 billion, even if people like it.
yeah. I said it before. I said it last week. I'll say it again this week. I think Tom Cruise is going to save the movie theaters again.
Yep. Tom Cruise, Mario, and Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh boy.
When people were kind of predicting that Mario could be the biggest movie of the year, I thought they were insane. But when you look at the actual release slate, it's like, oh, there's a bunch of stuff in here that are like, here are things people would approximately like.
Yeah.
There's a there was a bit from Regular Show that I didn't actually see the episode, but I saw it out of context, where there was a guy with psychic powers that let him, like, he could approximately read your mind, but he was inaccurate. For example, I can very approximately read your mind. For example, right now you're thinking of a duck holding a tangerine. It was a goose holding a lemon. How did you know? I forgot what the actual thing was, but it's. I
Yeah.
told you, I have approximate knowledge.
Yeah.
I feel like this whole summer release slate has been approximate knowledge. What would the audience like? Transformers movies have done well in the past. We could do another Fast and the Furious, and people like superhero movies, so we'll do the Flash, and people love Pixar movies.
Yeah.
But all those seem like sure bets 5 years ago when they were all greenlit. I'm actually no, Flash has been development hell. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you feel me? It's just
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
these things seem like they would be surefire wins.
Yeah. It's
That is not how they are turning out.
no.
So I think that about covers that.
Yes.
There isn't any new updates for the home movie charts aside from Mario unsurprisingly doing well.
Yes.
Um, but looking to the future, speaking of sure bets, I think at this point, even with the DC universe bombing out, as they shove out the spoiled remnants of the Snyderverse,
Yeah.
We have the James Gunn verse to look forward to,
Yes.
and we have a new Superman and a new Lois.
Yeah. Oh, you got muted.
I thought I hit it twice.
Uh,
Uh, with David Cornswet as Superman and Rachel Brosnahan as, that's just my guess about her, how her name is pronounced.
I, yeah, it's either that or Bro Shannon.
Yeah, though I would think Bro Shannon would have two H's there,
Oh, okay.
but I've been known to be wrong before. If
Well,
she happens to watch this stream, I apologize in advance.
yes, I do too. We'll just
Now,
call her Rachel.
so here's Rachel. I gotta say that she looks more like a Lois than Amy Adams did.
Yeah. Yeah, I think both of them look like the characters, like how they're supposed to look.
Apparently, I read an interview with David. People have been saying that he looks like Henry Cavill for a bit, and he had in an interview years ago talked about how his dream was to play Superman.
Yeah.
Also interesting is that he is I don't know if he's Jewish or Jewish from what I read,
Yeah.
but uh, that's kind of appropriate given that the creators of Superman were Jewish and Superman is Space Moses, so
Yeah.
that has some cultural connection.
Yes.
Uh, People might know him from
Uh,
Pearl, Look Both Ways, We Own the City, The Politician,
oh, he was in an episode of House of Cards.
House of Cards. People might know him from that. I don't because don't happen to have seen any of those. But
I watched it, but I couldn't tell you what season he was in or who he played. So
yeah, it is interesting how some of these actors, you look at some of their minor roles and you're like, oh, they left no impact.
yeah.
Meanwhile, Rachel is famous for the marvelous Mrs. Maisel over on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, it's yeah. From what I hear, it's a show about a housewife who becomes a stand-up comedian.
Yep. Um, and I'm going to just be honest here, having never seen it, I was surprised to find the actress is around 32 when she's been on it for a number of seasons, because I had assumed from the name of it that
Mm.
Mrs. Maisel would be like a 40 something who is getting her groove back.
Yeah.
Uh, I also know that people who work in comic books are watching that movie because or watching that TV show because there was briefly a Marvel comic called The Magnificent Miss Marvel. So
Yeah.
somebody thought they were being cute, just like I think they're being cute with their constant Game of Thrones references.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what? Let's look this up for a while live because I'm curious. How old is Amy? Yeah, Amy Adams is 48.
Mm.
Henry Cavill is also in his 40s, I believe.
I think he's right at 40.
Yeah, 40. Honestly, people are rightly upset about Henry getting mistreated by Warner Brothers,
Hmm.
but you see why if you're trying to make a 10-year cinematic universe that you kind of need a younger person, and
Yeah.
also in a world where the Flash opens to less than $70 million, you kind of need somebody who isn't on his like fifth movie in the franchise and his pay goes up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You want his pay to go up as with each successive movie that is hopefully gets in each successive movie gets more and more successful and makes more and more money.
Right. It's going to be very interesting to see how this turns out because uh, I have a mixed record on James Gunn. I like his Guardians movies, but I
Mhm.
wasn't able to finish uh, either his Suicide Squad movie or his Peacemaker TV show. just
Yeah.
because I got like this ugly, gritty feeling in my soul, which happens sometimes when I'm watching something.
Uh,
And it's just like, okay, this is too dark.
mm. Yeah, I agree. I enjoy the Guardians movies. I have not seen his Suicide Squad. I've heard mixed things about that movie. Um, haven't watched Peacemaker, so you know.
Yeah, John Cena makes a ridiculous, or a good ridiculous, uh, hyper or wannabe superhero who's actually insane.
Oh,
I would just say like I just got annoyed at the movie itself. It's
yeah,
and I,
yeah.
eh.
Mm.
So we'll see. Now, hopefully, James is writing in a mode that's truer to Superman than anything I've seen of him.
Yeah, yeah, because it takes a certain writer with a certain thought process to write for Superman and even and direct Superman. I mean,
Right.
I still maintain the quintessential Superman movie is Richard Donner's with Christopher Reeve. I think that still holds up pretty well in terms of a Superman story, and stays true to that character.
Yep.
There were some corny part. I mean, it does get a little corny, but I mean, it's still good.
The thing that kind of gives me hope is that the results from the different Spider-Verse, Snyderverse movies uh, have to have been a message that was loud and clear. You can't have a Superman movie with the general feel of a Batman movie.
Right. Yeah.
This is a hopeful, happy character
Yeah.
who you can run through the ringer, but it shouldn't feel like it shouldn't. Like I remember like talking with a friend of mine about it, it's like watching Man of Steel. I just had like this sense of misery and or like everything was miserable in that movie. He was like, "Is that a problem?" Like, well, I like tend to like enjoying movies.
Yeah. Yeah, and the color the color grading on that movie didn't help either.
Yeah, there was a video where somebody kind of cheated and made the movie look darker than it actually was to correct it up to a
Uh,
brighter palette, but it was still a pretty grim or a pretty yeah, it was a grim visual style.
yeah. Yeah. Uh,
But
uh,
you know, I'm trying to stay hopeful. This is one where I probably am going to intentionally not watch anybody talk about it
yeah.
because you know that we're going to get you know. Uh, I enjoy Midnight's Edge. I'm a regular watcher. You know
Mm,
that you're going to get them getting rumors over the next bit where they'll hear about it.
right. Yeah.
Although, what's interesting now that I think about it is I think Tom was saying that he has not heard a single thing about this James Gunn verse because apparently he is keeping like all the people who know what is going to happen in that movie are him and God right now.
Well, I don't blame him. I don't blame him there.
No, because you guys admit that like imagine if the slate of Snyderverse movies had come out and we hadn't had leaks and backpedals and announcements that were withdrawn and everything, and they just
Uh,
come out on their own. They would have stood on their own much better.
yeah.
Really, the
Yeah.
biggest trick that Marvel pulled was that they made everybody think that you had to have a roadmap to have a cinematic universe when they didn't early on.
No. Yeah. No. At least not in phase one. Yeah.
Right? I mean, Phase One. You know, it was part of Phase One technically.
What?
The Swamp Thing movie that they lost $100 million on and shoved onto Sci-Fi Channel.
Oh wow.
Can you imagine the horrible circumstance they would have been in
Uh-huh.
if they had announced that Man Thing, excuse me, Man Thing.
Okay.
If they'd had Man Thing, excuse me, if they'd had Man Thing and he had been an integral character to their stated 5-year roadmap, just how much of a disaster that would have been.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that would have been horrible.
They would have panicked. They would have overcorrected. They would have basically done what the DCEU did from day one.
Yeah.
Like as soon as Man of Steel didn't make $1 billion, they were in. Actually, as soon as Green Lantern bombed, and they repurposed Man of Steel to be their Iron Man movie, and it
Right.
didn't make $1 billion, they were in panic mode forever after.
Yeah, and went right into Batman v Superman rather than just introducing that version of that version of Batman first, and then that movie underperformed and was quite frankly underwhelming.
Yes. And it's not just that they nobody went to see it. It had a huge opening weekend, then it collapsed.
Hmm.
Just not as bad as Flash, but and they would love to have that big opening weekend.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a thought. Do you wonder if maybe the big opening weekend is a thing of the past? Because if you think about
Mm,
it, Avatar 2 and Top Gun 2 both came out to relatively low opening weekends and then legged out.
yeah.
Like I remember us talking at the time thinking that Top Gun opened a little bit softer than we might have expected.
Yeah.
Avatar, where I definitely thought it was a sign of their doom.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, here we go. Opening weekend 126 million. Boy, the Flash wishes it got 126 million.
Oh yeah.
And then Avatar came in a little under. I think it came in around, right around 100 million. Okay,
134.
134 million.
Yeah.
Which, when you were weighing it against a $460 million budget, seemed like that should have been a disaster. But it legged out 5.10 times here in the states and did 1.6 billion internationally.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the change that the Hollywood blockbuster just isn't designed to catch anymore. Is that people are being more choosy with the movies they see, and they aren't just all rushing out opening weekend anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Yeah, and I think they'll probably have to make some adjustments there because yeah, the days of like like Avengers Endgame doing whatever it did opening weekend, which like
I think it was close to 300.
yeah,
Avengers Endgame.
yeah
Yeah,
three
357 million opening weekend,
yeah
which is almost the entire combined national and international gross of Ant-Man Quantumania.
oof oh man uh,
Like uh, you see why probably why Disney thought they were unkillable because 2019 they had so many movies that made $1 billion.
yeah
I would even say that the relative legs of Elemental are a sign that the word on the street is, yeah, it's just kind of okay.
yeah
You know what? If you need somewhere to take your kids because school's out and you don't want to you want some air conditioning and maybe just to buy a big bucket of popcorn,
yeah
kind of okay and harmless is okay.
yeah
Also, I just kind of noticed that with her legs looking like that with the fire, it looks like she has some serious cellulite there.
oh yeah
That's neither here nor there.
oof
Unfortunate visual illusions.
yes
Anyhow,
yeah
I think if we're talking about fiery characters having fake cellulite, I think we're done with this topic now.
yeah I think so too oh man
But Hollywood's just going to have to embrace the suck for a bit and figure out what people actually want.
exactly yeah
But
well yeah
we hope we earned your time better than Hollywood has the last few weeks.
yes, indeed. Yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it as always.
Yep,
Yeah, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel,
hit the bell.
hit the bell.
Especially now that YouTube ad participation is down to 500 instead of 10,000.
Mm,
But 10,000 unachievable. 500, shoot, we might be able to do that.
yeah, we could. Yeah. So yeah, and also but buy this book.
Yes, buy this book. Later, Chingus. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, Chinggis, good to see you, man. And yeah, we will see you all next week. Good night,
Yep.
everybody.
Night, everyone.